Millionaire's twins would not stop crying during the flight, annoying everyone around. While the passengers tried to ignore it, a poor girl sitting at the back watched attentively. Without hesitation, she did something unthinkable, something no one expected. What she did at that moment would leave everyone in shock, even the richest. Nathan Wells pressed his forehead against the small airplane window, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. The New York skyline disappeared beneath the clouds as the first-class cabin of Flight AA273 to Seattle hummed with quiet conversation. On his lap, his 6-month-old twins, Emma and Ethan, had finally drifted into a fitful sleep after crying for what felt like eternity. "More champagne, Mr. Wells?" The flight attendant whispered, careful not to disturb the sleeping infants. Nathan shook his head, his eyes never leaving the twins' peaceful faces. For the tech billionaire and founder of Neurosoft, the past 3 months had been a blur of sleepless nights and endless meetings. Ever since Catherine had disappeared, his life had become a precarious balancing act between running his neural interface company and being a single father to twins who seemed to sense their mother's absence. "They're beautiful," the flight attendant said with a smile. "They have your eyes." "They're mothers, actually," Nathan replied, the familiar ache returning to his chest. "Everything beautiful about them comes from her." The flight attendant nodded sympathetically before moving on to the next passenger. Nathan carefully adjusted Emma's blanket, marveling at how much she resembled Catherine. Same determined chin, same thoughtful brow. His eyes drifted to the gold wedding band still on his finger. 3 months without a word. 3 months of desperate searching, private investigators and dead ends. The authorities had all but given up, suggesting that Catherine had chosen to leave. But Nathan knew better. His wife, the brilliant neurochemist whose research had been the foundation of their company, would never abandon their children. The twins began to stir, their small faces scrunching up in synchrony. Nathan recognized the warning signs, the rapid eye movements, the twitching lips. Within seconds, both babies erupted into piercing wails that cut through the cabin's ambient noise like sirens. "Shh, it's okay," Nathan murmured, gently bouncing. Them in his arms. He reached for the bottle of formula, but Emma swatted it away, her cries intensifying. Ethan, never to be outdone by his sister, matched her volume. Passengers turned in their seats, some with sympathetic glances, others with barely concealed irritation. Nathan felt a bead of sweat trickle down his back as he cycled through the usual remedies, rocking, patting, soft whispers, all to no avail. "Sir, is there anything we can do to help?" A different flight attendant appeared at his side, concern evident in her eyes. Nathan shook his head, embarrassment heating his face. "They've been like this for the past few months. Nothing seems to help except—" He trailed off, unable to say Catherine's name again without his voice breaking. 20 minutes later, the twins were still inconsolable. Nathan had tried everything: formula, diaper changes, walking them up and down the aisle. Nothing worked. His shirt was damp with sweat, and the disapproving glares from his fellow passengers had multiplied. "Sir, would you mind if I took them to the galley for a moment?" the head flight attendant, Melissa according to her name tag, offered. "Sometimes a change of scenery helps." Desperate, Nathan nodded, carefully transferring the screaming bundles into her arms. As Melissa disappeared with his children, he collapsed back into his seat, rubbing his temples. The pressure behind his eyes had been building for days, a combination of stress and sleep deprivation that no amount of his company's cutting-edge neural interface technology could alleviate. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The absence of crying was both a relief and a new source of anxiety. Nathan was about to go looking for his children when Melissa reappeared, a look of amazement on her face. "Mr. Wells, there's someone I think you should meet." Confused, Nathan followed her through the first-class cabin and past business class into economy. Near the back of the plane, a small crowd had gathered around a row of seats. As they approached, Nathan heard something that made his heart stutter: silence. His twins, who had been inconsolable for weeks, were quiet. The crowd parted to reveal a young girl, no more than 7 years old, sitting cross-legged in her seat. Emma and Ethan were nestled in her small arms, their eyes wide and attentive, as she sang to them in a soft, clear voice. "Hush, little babies, don't say a word. Mama's going to show you a whole new world. Where stars are bright and dreams come true, a place of wonder just for you." Nathan froze, the blood draining from his face. The lullaby, it was Catherine's. A song she had composed herself during her pregnancy, one she sang every night before the twins were born. A song no one else could possibly know. The little girl looked up, her large brown eyes meeting Nathan's stunned gaze. She didn't stop singing, but a flicker of recognition crossed her face. "Who are you?" Nathan whispered when she finished the lullaby, his voice barely audible over the plane's engines. "I'm Lily," the child answered simply. "Your babies were sad. They missed their mama's song." Nathan stared at the girl, taking in her worn jeans, faded purple backpack, and the airline's unaccompanied minor badge clipped to her shirt. Her dark hair was pulled into messy braids, and there was a small scar above her right eyebrow. "How do you know that song?" Nathan asked, his mind racing with possibilities, none of them making sense. Lily shrugged, her small fingers still gently stroking Emma's cheek. "She sang it to me too, when she saved me." A flight attendant appeared beside them. "Sir, we need everyone to return to their seats. We're experiencing some turbulence ahead." As if on cue, the plane lurched, the seatbelt sign pinging on with an urgent chime. Nathan hesitated, unwilling to leave this child who somehow knew his wife's lullaby. "Can she come sit with us?" he asked the attendant, gesturing to the empty seat beside his in first class. After a moment's hesitation, the attendant nodded. "Just for a while, until the turbulence passes." Back in first class, with the twins now peacefully sleeping in their bassinet, Nathan turned to Lily. "When did you meet my wife? How did she save you?" Lily clutched her backpack tightly against her chest. "After the fire, when the bad men were looking for me, she said I had to hide until it was safe." The child's eyes darted nervously around the cabin. "She said if anything happened to her, I should find her babies. That's why I'm going to Seattle. I saw your picture in the magazine with the babies." Nathan's mind reeled. Catherine had disappeared in Seattle after a conference where she was presenting her research on memory enhancement. The last 3 months of investigation had yielded nothing. No ransom demands, no body, no evidence of foul play. Just a hotel, room left in perfect order, and her rental car found abandoned at a mall parking lot. "Lily, what else did Catherine tell you? Do you know where she is?" The plane shuddered violently, causing oxygen masks to drop from the overhead compartments. The captain's voice crackled through the intercom. "This is your captain speaking. We're experiencing unexpected severe turbulence. Please remain in your seats with your seatbelts fastened." As the plane dropped suddenly, passengers screamed, and loose items flew through the cabin. Nathan instinctively reached for the twins, securing them against his chest with one arm, while his other hand gripped Lily's small shoulder. The little girl looked up at him, fear evident in her eyes, but something else too, determination. "She said they'd come for me, and now they'll come for you too." "Who? Who's coming for us?" Before Lily could answer, the intercom crackled again. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the inconvenience, but due to a mechanical issue, we'll be making an emergency landing in Chicago. Please prepare for descent." As the plane banked sharply to the left, Nathan saw Lily pull something from her backpack, a small notebook with a familiar symbol embossed on its cover. The same symbol that appeared on Catherine's research files. A stylized double helix wrapped around a neural pathway. "She said to give you this," Lily whispered, pressing the notebook into his hand. "But only when they start looking. I think they're looking now." The emergency landing at O'Hare International Airport was controlled chaos. Passengers filed out in a rush of nervous energy, while airport personnel and paramedics waited on the tarmac. Nathan clutched the twins' carrier in one hand and Lily's small hand in the other, his mind still reeling from their brief conversation. "Mr. Wells, this way, please." A flight attendant directed him toward a private lounge away from the other passengers. "We've arranged accommodations for you and your children until we can get you on another flight to Seattle." Nathan nodded absently, his attention fixed on the notebook Lily had given him. Catherine's notebook. He'd recognize her handwriting anywhere, precise yet flowing. just like her mind. The symbol on the cover was associated with her most important research project, mnemosine, a compound designed to enhance neural pathways associated with memory. "Are you hungry?" Nathan asked Lily as they settled into plush chairs in the empty VIP lounge. The twins were finally sleeping soundly in their carrier. Lily nodded, her eyes never leaving the exit. "They always find me when I stay in one place too long," she said matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather rather than some mysterious pursuers. Nathan signaled to an attendant for food, then leaned closer to the child. "Lily, I need to know more about Catherine, about my wife. When exactly did you meet her? What did she tell you?" Lily's small hands fidgeted with the zipper of her worn purple backpack. 3 months ago, after I ran away from the last house." "You ran away from home?" "Not home," Lily corrected, her voice suddenly older than her years. "The placement. House. After my parents were gone in the fire, I went to lots of different houses." Nathan felt a chill. "You're in foster care?" Lily shrugged. "Was. Then the fire happened at the group home. Everyone thought I was gone too, but I was hiding in the special place Miss Janet showed me." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The men in the black cars came looking for me after. They told everyone I didn't make it." The attendant arrived with sandwiches and juice, momentarily interrupting their conversation. Nathan waited until she left before continuing, his mind piecing together a troubling timeline. "So after this incident, you met my wife, how?" Lily took a careful bite of her sandwich, chewing thoughtfully. "I was hiding behind the garbage cans at the hospital. She found me when she came out the back door. She knew my name right away, even though I didn't tell her. Said she'd been looking for me." A cold wave of unease washed over Nathan. Catherine had never mentioned searching for a foster child, yet the girl knew her lullaby, a melody Catherine had composed herself and sang only in the privacy of their home. "What else did she tell you?" "That I was special. That my brain remembers things differently." Lily tapped her temple. "She said the bad men wanted to study my brain because of how I remember everything, but that it would hurt me. So she helped me hide." Nathan's tech company, Neurasoft, specialized in neural interface technology, devices that enhanced human cognitive capabilities. Catherine's research on memory enhancement had been groundbreaking, proposing that certain compounds could strengthen neural connections without the need for invasive technology. If Lily had some natural ability related to memory enhancement. "These men who are looking for you, do you know who they work for?" Nathan asked, keeping his voice steady despite the growing knot of dread in his stomach. Lily nodded solemnly. "Vertex Pharma. Dr. Catherine said they stole her special medicine and were using it wrong, using it to make people forget things they shouldn't forget." Nathan's breath caught. Vertex Pharmaceuticals was Neurasoft's main competitor in cognitive enhancement technology. They had approached Catherine numerous times about acquiring her research, but she had always refused, citing ethical concerns about their testing methods. "Mr. Wells?" A woman in a dark suit appeared at the lounge entrance. "I'm Agent Rivera with airport security. Could I have a word?" Nathan glanced at Lily, who had gone rigid with fear, her eyes wide. "Of course," he replied, standing. "Lily, stay with the twins for just a moment, okay?" The girl nodded, but her knuckles were white as she gripped her backpack. Agent Rivera led Nathan just outside the lounge doors, her expression professionally neutral. "Mr. Wells, we've received some concerning information. The unaccompanied minor traveling with you, Lily Cooper, has been reported missing from the Illinois foster care system for over 2 years. In fact, she was officially declared deceased following a fire at her group home." Nathan struggled to keep his face composed. "There must be some mistake. She was on the flight as an unaccompanied minor. Someone must have checked her documentation." Agent E. Rivera shook her head. "That's the thing. There's no record of her boarding the flight. No ticket, no unaccompanied minor paperwork. According to the manifest, she doesn't exist." Nathan's mind raced. How was that possible? The flight attendants had seen her, had even brought her to first class. "I don't understand." "Neither do we. which is why we need to take her into protective custody until we can sort this out. Agent Rivera's hand moved subtly toward her radio. We've contacted DCFS, and they're sending a representative. Wait, Nathan said, a sudden protectiveness surging through him. She's connected to my wife's disappearance. She has information. All the more reason for proper authorities to interview her, Rivera interrupted. Mr. Wells, I understand your concern, but this is a serious situation. A child legally declared deceased has somehow appeared on your flight. We need to investigate. Nathan glanced back through the glass doors. Lily was exactly where he'd left her, singing softly to the twins who remained peacefully asleep. There was something about her, something in the determined set of her small jaw, the watchful intelligence in her eyes, that reminded him powerfully of Catherine. Can I at least stay with her until DCFS arrives? She trusts me. Agent Rivera hesitated, then nodded. Fine, but I'll need to station an officer with you. When Nathan returned to the lounge, Lily looked up immediately, her expression knowing. They don't believe I'm real, she said simply. Nathan sat beside her, lowering his voice. Lily, they have records saying you didn't survive the fire at your group home. How is that possible? Dr. Catherine explained it, Lily whispered back. They needed everyone to think I was gone so they could take me to the special hospital, the one where they change memories. Change memories, Nathan repeated, his skin prickling. Lily nodded gravely. They put the medicine in your brain, and then they can take memories away or put new ones in. Dr. Catherine was trying to stop them. That's why she helped me escape. Nathan's mind whirled. Catherine's research had focused on memory enhancement, not manipulation, but theoretically, a compound that strengthened neural pathways could potentially be modified to create false connections, false memories. Mr. Wells? A new voice interrupted his thoughts. A middle-aged woman with a DCFS badge stood at the entrance with Agent Rivera. I'm Clara Hendricks from Child Services. Lily's hand shot out, gripping Nathan's arm with surprising strength. Don't let them take me, she whispered urgently. The notebook. Look at page 17, it explains everything. As Ms. Hendricks approached, Nathan made a split-second decision. He slipped Catherine's notebook into his jacket pocket, then stood, positioning himself slightly in front of Lily. Ms. Hendricks, I understand there's confusion about Lily's status, but she has critical information about my wife's disappearance. My wife, Dr. Catherine Wells, is a prominent neurochemist who vanished 3 months ago. Lily is the first lead we've had. Clara Hendricks frowned, consulting her tablet. According to our records, Lily Cooper perished in a fire at Sunshine Children's Home on June 12, 2023. We have a death certificate, yet here she is, Nathan countered, gesturing to the very much alive child behind him. Which is precisely why we need to take her into protective custody, Ms. Hendricks insisted. This situation requires thorough investigation. Someone falsified government records, Mr. Wells. That's a serious offense. I don't think you understand, Nathan said, his voice hardening. My wife has been missing for 3 months. This child knows things about her that no stranger could possibly know. She's in danger, we both are. Lily stood suddenly, her small hand slipping into Nathan's. They're already here, she whispered, her eyes fixed on something beyond the glass walls of the lounge. Nathan turned to follow her gaze. 2 men in dark suits were speaking with airport security near the terminal entrance, showing identification cards. Even from this distance, Nathan recognized the logo on the cards, Vertex Pharmaceuticals. We need to leave, Nathan said. His decision made it. He quickly gathered the twins' carrier and diaper bag. Ms. Hendricks, I'm not letting Lily out of my sight until I understand what's happening. My attorneys will contact your department. Mr. Wells, you cannot simply... Watch me, Nathan interrupted, already moving toward the lounge's side exit. I have resources and legal teams that will ensure Lily's safety and well-being while we sort this out. Your alternative is placing her back into a system that already declared her dead. As they hurried through the exit, Nathan caught a glimpse of one of the Vertex men pointing in their direction. Lily's grip on his hand tightened. They always find me, she murmured, fear threading through her voice. Nathan looked down at the little girl whose existence had just upended his world. Not this time, he promised. This time, you have me. Nathan's black SUV cut through the rainy Chicago streets, windshield wipers keeping rhythm with his racing thoughts. His private security team had moved with impressive efficiency, extracting them from O'Hare through a service entrance and whisking them to a waiting vehicle. In the back seat, Lily sat silently beside the twins' carrier, her small face illuminated by passing streetlights. "Where are we going?" she finally asked, her voice barely audible over the patter of rain. "Somewhere safe," Nathan replied, checking the rearview mirror for the 4th time in as many minutes. "I have a property outside the city. We'll stay there tonight while my team makes arrangements to get us to Seattle." Lily nodded, seemingly satisfied with his answer. "Dr. Catherine said you have houses everywhere. She said you like to be prepared." Nathan's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Each casual mention of his wife sent a jolt through him, the painful familiarity of her name in this child's mouth, both comforting and unsettling. "Lily," he began carefully, "I need to understand how you knew Catherine. What exactly did she tell you about me, about us?" The little girl's reflection in the rearview mirror looked suddenly older, more guarded. "She showed me pictures of you and the babies. She said if anything happened to her, I should find you, that you'd protect me because—" She hesitated, looking down at her hands. "Because what?" Nathan prompted gently. "Because you're good at fixing things that are broken, even people." The words hung in the air between them as Nathan navigated onto the highway heading north. Catherine had always said that about him, that his true gift wasn't technology but rehabilitation, seeing potential where others saw only damage. "Did she tell you where she was going? After she helped you escape?" Lily's face scrunched in concentration. "She said she had to hide the formula, that it wasn't safe anywhere they could look." The child's eyes drifted to the sleeping twins. "She was worried about them the most, said they'd been exposed during testing." Nathan nearly swerved off the road. "Exposed? What do you mean exposed?" "To Namosin," Lily said simply, as if this were common knowledge. "Before they were born. That's why they need the song. It activates the neural patterns." Cold dread pooled in Nathan's stomach. Catherine had been 5 months pregnant when she'd made her breakthrough with Namosin. She'd been ecstatic about the compound's potential to help Alzheimer's patients recover lost memories, but she'd never mentioned testing it while pregnant. It wasn't like her to take such risks, unless she hadn't known she was being exposed. "Lily, how do you know this?" Nathan asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I remember everything I see or hear," Lily replied matter-of-factly. "Dr. Catherine showed me her research notes once. I can recite them if you want." Before Nathan could respond, his phone rang through the car's speaker system. The screen displayed his assistant's name, Sarah Matthews. "Nathan, where are you?" Sarah's voice was tight with urgency. "There are men here at the Chicago office asking about you and Catherine. They're claiming to be from the FDA, but their credentials look suspicious. Security is stalling them, but—" "Don't tell them anything," Nathan interrupted. "Call Daniel in legal and have him deal with them. Then I need you to do something important. Go to my personal safe, you know the one, and retrieve the blue flash drive. It contains Catherine's backup research data." "Already done," Sarah replied, her efficiency one of the reasons Nathan had hired her 5 years ago. "I had a feeling something was wrong when the airport called looking for your new flight details. The drive is secure. What's going on, Nathan?" Nathan glanced at Lily, who was watching him intently. "I can't explain everything now, but I've found a connection to Catherine's disappearance, a significant one. I need you to arrange secure transportation to the Seattle house for tomorrow. Use the private protocols." "Understood," Sarah said, without hesitation. "Nathan, be careful. These men, they don't seem like regular corporate types, more like—" A muffled sound came through the speakers, followed by Sarah's suddenly formal tone. "Yes, gentlemen, I was just trying to reach Mr. Wells. As I've explained, he's currently unavailable." New voices, too distant to make out clearly, responded. "I understand your concerns," Sarah continued smoothly, "but I'm afraid I can't discuss Mr. Wells's schedule without proper authorization. Perhaps if you could leave your contact information. Nathan ended the call, his jaw clenched. Change of plans, he told Lily, taking the next exit. We need somewhere more secure. 40 minutes later, they pulled into the underground garage of a nondescript apartment building in Evanston. Unlike his showcase penthouse downtown or his lakefront mansion, this modest building wasn't connected to Nathan Wells in any public record. It was owned by a shell company 3 layers removed from Neurasoft, purchased years ago when Nathan first realized his success might someday make privacy a luxury. The apartment itself was small but comfortable, 2 bedrooms minimally. Furnished, stocked with non-perishable food and basic necessities, Nathan settled the twins in the master bedroom, creating a makeshift crib from pillows and blankets. When he returned to the living room, he found Lily standing by the window, peering through a crack in the curtains at the streetlights below. We should be safe here, Nathan assured her, though he wasn't entirely convinced himself. No one knows about this place except Sarah and my head of security. Lily didn't look reassured. They have ways of finding people, special technology. Dr. Catherine said they used it to track her until she figured out how to block it. How did she block it? Nathan asked, suddenly alert. Instead of answering, Lily unzipped her purple backpack and pulled out a small metallic case about the size of a deck of cards. She handed it to Nathan. She made this for me, said it creates interference in their tracking system. Nathan examined the device with growing amazement. It was a signal scrambler, but unlike any he'd seen before, the circuitry was elegant, innovative, unmistakably Catherine's work. He'd recognize her engineering signature anywhere. This is incredible, he murmured, turning the device over. Did she make one for herself too? Lily nodded. She had a bigger one. For her lab. Nathan looked up sharply. Her lab? Catherine had a secret lab? In the mountains, Lily confirmed. That's where she took me first, before she found the safe house in Seattle. The pieces were beginning to align in Nathan's mind. Catherine's increased secrecy in the months before her disappearance, her insistence on conducting certain aspects of her research off-site, away from Neurasoft's main facilities. He'd attributed it to her desire for academic purity, keeping her work separate from corporate interests. Now he wondered if there had been another reason entirely. Lily, Nathan said, sitting down so they were eye to eye, I need to see what's in that notebook you gave me. The child nodded solemnly. Page 17. That's where she wrote about the twins. Nathan retrieved the notebook from his jacket pocket, his heart pounding as he turned to the specified page. Catherine's familiar handwriting filled the margins around complex molecular diagrams. Prenatal exposure confirmed. Neural development in twins shows unprecedented integration with mnemosyne markers. Vertex must have administered compound during routine prenatal visit when I was traveling. Ethical breach beyond imagination. Cannot reveal discovery without endangering subjects. Memory imprinting protocol initiated as countermeasure. Song functions as neural key. A memory anchor that will protect against potential manipulations. Subject L demonstrates natural resistance to memory alteration. Genetic anomaly in hippocampal structure creates perfect recall capability. Vertex aware of condition, attempted acquisition through foster system following staged incident. Extraction successful, but pursuit ongoing. Subject now critical to research preservation. If compromised, all data to be redirected to secure location Alpha. Nathan must locate Subject L. Only she can access emergency protocols. The twins' protection remains priority. Nathan read the passage 3 times, his hands trembling. The clinical language couldn't mask the horror of what Catherine was describing. Someone had exposed his pregnant wife to an experimental compound without her knowledge. Their twins had been subjects of unauthorized experimentation before they were even born, and Lily, Subject L, was somehow immune to memory manipulation, making her invaluable to both Catherine's research and Vertex's darker purposes. They tested their medicine on me too, Lily said quietly, watching Nathan's face. But it didn't work the way they wanted. Instead of forgetting, I remembered more. Dr. Catherine said I'm the only one who ever responded that way. Nathan looked up from the notebook, seeing Lily in a new light. Not just a random child Catherine had rescued, but a crucial piece in understanding what had happened to his wife. Do you know where Catherine's secret lab is located? The exact location? Lily nodded confidently. I can show you on a map. It's near Mount Rainier. That's why we need to go to Seattle. A soft cry from the bedroom interrupted their conversation. Nathan rose quickly, but Lily was already on her feet. They need their song, she said, moving toward the bedroom with the certainty of someone much older than her 7 years. Nathan followed, watching as Lily approached the makeshift crib where Emma had begun to fuss. With gentle confidence, the child began to sing the lullaby, Catherine's lullaby, and almost immediately, Emma's cries subsided. Standing in the doorway, Nathan felt a certainty settle over him. Whatever dangers lay ahead, this child was now under his protection, not just because she might lead him to Catherine, but because Catherine had entrusted her to him, had seen something in her worth saving, just as she'd seen something in him all those years ago when they'd first met. His phone vibrated with an incoming text from Sarah. Security breach at Chicago office. Files accessed. Your home address compromised. Moving protocols initiated. Nathan's jaw tightened as he typed back, activate blackout protocol. All systems. Sarah's response was immediate. Confirmed. Be careful. Nathan looked up from his phone to find Lily watching him, the twins now quiet behind her. They're coming, aren't they? She asked, her voice small but steady. Yes, Nathan answered honestly, but we'll be gone before they get here, I promise. Lily's solemn nod nearly broke his heart. No child should be so accustomed to danger, so resigned to pursuit. Pack your things, he told her gently. We're leaving in 10 minutes. As Lily gathered her meager possessions, Nathan carefully transferred the sleeping twins to their carrier. His mind raced through contingencies, through safe houses and private transportation options. He had resources that most people couldn't imagine: wealth, connections, technology. If Catherine had been running with just Lily and her research, no wonder Vertex had nearly caught up to her. But now Lily had him, and Nathan Wells had never failed to protect what was his. Dawn broke over Lake Michigan as Nathan's private helicopter lifted off from a discreet airfield north of Chicago. He'd called in favors from people who owed him discretion, activating contingency plans he'd hoped never to use. Beside him, Lily dozed fitfully, her small body curled protectively around her purple backpack. The twins slept in their special carrier, secured to the helicopter's floor. ETA to Minneapolis, 3 hours. The pilot's voice crackled through Nathan's headset. Weather looks clear all the way. Nathan acknowledged the information with a nod. Minneapolis was just the first hop in a deliberately convoluted journey to Seattle. From there, they would take a private car to a small regional airport, then another helicopter to Spokane, followed by ground transportation to their final destination. Difficult to track, impossible to predict. He checked his secure phone, the one not connected to any Neurasoft systems. Sarah had successfully implemented the blackout protocol, severing connections between his personal accounts and the company's networks. Neurasoft would continue functioning under emergency leadership protocols, while Nathan effectively disappeared from the digital world. Beside him, Lily stirred, blinking drowsily at the sunrise painting the sky pink and gold. "Are we going to Seattle now?" she asked, voice thick with sleep. "We're on our way," Nathan confirmed, offering her a bottle of water. "It's going to take us a while, but we'll get there safely." Lily accepted the water, taking small, careful sips. "I've never been in a helicopter before. It's louder than I thought." "First time for everything," Nathan replied with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He hesitated, then added, "Lily, while you were sleeping, I read more of Catherine's notebook. She mentioned something called Secure Location Alpha. Do you know what that is?" The little girl's face grew serious. "It's where she hid all her research. The real research, not the stuff Vertex stole. She said only 3 people could find it. Her, you, and me." "And how would I find it?" Lily tapped her temple. "It's in here. She made me memorize the directions and the special code. But she said we have to be careful." We can't go straight there because they might follow us. First, we need to go to the hospital. Hospital? Nathan tensed. Is someone hurt? No, silly, Lily said with the faintest hint of a smile. The hospital where Dr. Catherine's friend works, the one who helped her hide me. She said he has the key to her special safe, a genetic key. Nathan's mind raced. A genetic key typically meant a DNA-locked security system, one that would only open for specific genetic markers. It was cutting-edge technology, still experimental in most applications. This friend of Catherine's, do you remember his name? Lily nodded confidently. Dr. Marcus Wilson. He works at Seattle Memorial in the neurogenetics department. He has funny glasses and a beard like Santa Claus, but not white. Nathan felt a jolt of recognition. Marcus Wilson had been Catherine's mentor at MIT, one of the pioneers in the field of memory encoding. They'd lost touch years ago, after a disagreement about the commercialization of their research. Catherine moving toward practical applications with Neurosoft, Marcus remaining in academic research. Did Catherine tell you anything else about Dr. Wilson, about why she trusted him? She said he was the only one who believed her when she found out about the bad medicine, the only one who helped her fix it. Lily's brow furrowed in concentration. She said he had a special machine in his lab that could see inside memories. She used it to help me remember the fire correctly. Nathan felt a chill despite the helicopter's stuffy cabin. Remember the fire correctly? What do you mean? Lily looked down at her hands. I used to have nightmares about the fire, about being trapped and burning, but they weren't real memories. Dr. Catherine used the machine to help me see what really happened, that someone took me from my bed before the fire started. Men in masks who put me in a white van. She looked up at Nathan, her eyes suddenly older than her years. They made me remember dying, but I never did. False memory implantation. Nathan had read the theoretical papers, had even funded research into therapeutic applications for trauma victims, but to use it on a child, to make her believe she had perished in a fire, the cruelty was unfathomable. And Dr. Wilson's machine helped you see the truth? Lily nodded. It showed my real memories underneath the fake ones. Dr. Catherine said it was like peeling an onion, layers and layers until you get to what's real. The implications were staggering. If Wilson had developed technology that could distinguish between authentic and implanted memories, it would be invaluable in understanding what had been done to the twins, what might have been done to Catherine herself. Hours later, after multiple transportation changes and careful security measures, they arrived at a modest hotel on the outskirts of Seattle. Nathan had booked the rooms under one of his shell company names, paying cash for additional anonymity. We'll rest here tonight, he told Lily as she explored the two-bedroom suite. Tomorrow morning, we'll go to Seattle Memorial to find Dr. Wilson. The child nodded, settling onto the couch with a coloring book Sarah had thoughtfully included in the emergency supplies. She seemed to accept their nomadic existence with a resilience that spoke volumes about her past. Nathan busied himself preparing formula for the twins, his mind constantly returning to Catherine's notebook. The clinical descriptions of prenatal exposure of neural development affected by mnemosyne, it was horrifying to consider what might have been done to his children without his knowledge. Without Catherine's knowledge, his phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Sarah. Neurosoft systems secured. Vertex representatives attempted board meeting access, claiming regulatory investigation rights. Denied by legal. Request formal. Documentation pending. Nathan typed back, maintain position. No cooperation without federal warrants. Monitor all communications. A soft knock at the suite door sent a surge of adrenaline through his system. Nathan motioned for Lily to stay, quiet as he approached, hand hovering near the small pistol concealed in his jacket. Mr. Wells? A woman's voice barely audible through the door. It's Dr. Wilson's assistant, Amanda Reeves. He sent me. Nathan checked the peephole, seeing a professional-looking woman in her 30s, alone in the hallway. Still cautious, he opened the door just enough to speak. How did you find us? The woman's expression remained calm. "Dr. Wilson has been expecting you. When the security protocols at Neurosoft were activated, he knew you'd discovered the truth. May I come in? I have information about Catherine." After a thorough search for weapons or tracking devices, Nathan allowed Amanda into the suite. Lily watched from the corner, her body tense and ready to flee. "It's okay," Amanda said softly to Lily. "Dr. Catherine told us you might come with Mr. Wells. You're safe now." "Prove you know Catherine," Nathan demanded, still suspicious. Amanda reached into her bag and withdrew a small metal object that looked like a USB drive. "This is for you. It contains a message Catherine recorded before she went into hiding. Dr. Wilson kept it secure until you were ready." Nathan accepted the device, examining it carefully. It wasn't a standard USB drive, but a proprietary Neurosoft storage unit, one of his own company's prototypes, designed with military-grade encryption. "There's a reader in Dr. Wilson's lab," Amanda explained. "He's prepared to see you first thing tomorrow morning. The hospital's East Wing, research level. I'll escort you through security." "Why didn't Wilson come himself?" Nathan asked, still wary. "He's being watched," Amanda replied. "Simply, Vertex has had him under surveillance since Catherine disappeared. They suspect he helped her, but they can't prove it." She glanced at Lily. "They don't know about her connection to him yet. We'd like to keep it that way." Nathan considered his options. Going to a public hospital carried risks, but if Wilson truly had a message from Catherine, it might be worth it. And if his machine could verify memories, could confirm what had been done to the twins. "We'll be there," he decided. 7 a.m. before regular hospital hours. Amanda nodded, rising to leave. "Dr. Wilson will be ready, and Mr. Wells, Catherine said you might doubt her choices, might struggle to understand why she kept secrets from you." Her eyes softened. "She wanted you to know that everything she did was to protect your family." After Amanda left, Nathan sat heavily on the couch, the encrypted drive a weight in his palm. Lily approached cautiously, her eyes fixed on the device. "It has her voice on it," she said with certainty. "I remember when she made it, she was crying." Nathan looked up at the child, struck again by her unusual abilities. "You saw her record this message?" Lily nodded. "In the mountain lab, before she sent me to the safe house. She said it was for when you were ready to know everything." The little girl hesitated, then added in a small voice, "She said she was sorry she couldn't tell you the whole truth before, that it would put you and the babies in danger." Nathan felt the familiar ache of Catherine's absence, sharpened now by the tantalizing possibility that tomorrow might bring answers. He pocketed the drive and checked on the twins, who were sleeping peacefully in their portable crib. "We should rest," he told Lily. "Tomorrow will be a big day." Later that night, with Lily asleep in one bedroom and the twins in another, Nathan sat by the window watching Seattle's skyline. Somewhere in this city, 3 months ago, Catherine had vanished. Had she been running? Then already fighting a battle he knew nothing about. The thought that she had faced such dangers alone, while carrying the burden of protecting their children, was almost unbearable. His secure phone buzzed with another message from Sarah. "Security breach at Seattle office. Research servers accessed. Primary safeguards held, but intrusion sophisticated. Local authorities notified, but response limited without specific evidence." Nathan's jaw tightened. Vertex was escalating, becoming bolder in their efforts. Whatever Catherine had discovered, whatever she had hidden from them, they were growing desperate to find it. "Implement secondary security protocols," he replied. "Full audit trail. Let them find what we want them to find." Sarah's acknowledgement came seconds later. Nathan returned his gaze to the city lights, wondering if Catherine was out there somewhere, watching and waiting. Tomorrow, they would find Dr. Wilson would hear Catherine's message, would perhaps begin to understand the true scope of what they were facing. In the quiet hotel room, with his children sleeping nearby and a mysterious little girl who had upended his understanding of the past 3 months, Nathan made a silent promise to his missing wife. He would finish what she had started, would protect what she had fought to save, and then he would bring her home. Seattle Memorial Hospital's research wing stood separate from the main building, a gleaming structure of glass and steel that housed some of the most advanced neurological research facilities on the West Coast. Nathan adjusted the twins' carrier on one arm, while keeping Lily close with his other hand. They'd arrived at precisely 6:55 a.m., as instructed, entering through a side door where Amanda Reeves waited. "Dr. Wilson is ready for you," she said by way of greeting, her eyes darting to the security cameras overhead. "We need to move quickly. Vertex's legal team filed for an emergency inspection of his lab last night. We have until 9 a.m. before they arrive with their court order." Nathan nodded, following Amanda through a series of keycard-protected doors. Lily kept pace beside him, her purple backpack clutched tightly to her chest, her eyes taking in every detail of their surroundings with the intensity of someone committing it all to memory. "Has there been any direct communication from Catherine?" Nathan asked as they entered a service elevator. Amanda shook her head. "Not since she delivered Lily to the safe house 2 months ago. Dr. Wilson receives occasional encrypted data packets from untraceable servers, but no personal messages." The elevator opened onto a quiet laboratory floor. Unlike the hospital's pristine public areas, this space had the organized chaos of active research, whiteboards covered in complex equations, computer stations running simulations, specialized equipment humming softly. At the center of it all stood a man Nathan recognized immediately, despite the years that had passed since their last meeting. Marcus Wilson had indeed grown the beard Lily had described, but his eyes behind round glasses were the same. Sharp, intelligent, kind. He was bent over a microscope, but straightened when they entered, his face breaking into a cautious smile. "Nathan Wells," he said, crossing the room with hand extended. "It's been too long." Nathan shook the offered hand, studying the older man's face. 7 years, I believe, not since Catherine defended her dissertation. Marcus nodded, then turned his attention to Lily, his expression softening. "And how are you, young lady? Keeping those memories organized like we practiced?" Lily gave him a small smile. "Yes, Dr. Marcus. The color system helps a lot." "Color system?" Nathan inquired. "A mnemonic technique we developed," Marcus explained, guiding them toward a separate room. "Lily has an exceptional memory, categorical hyperthymesia, enhanced by certain neurochemical peculiarities. We taught her to mentally color-code memories to distinguish between implanted and authentic experiences." The private room they entered was small but well-equipped, dominated by what appeared to be a modified MRI machine connected to several powerful computers. One wall was entirely covered in monitors, displaying brain scans and neural pathway maps. "My memory visualization lab," Marcus said, gesturing around them. "The culmination of 30 years of research into how memories are encoded, stored, and retrieved." He moved to a secure cabinet, unlocking it with a retinal scan. "But that's not why you're here." From the cabinet, he withdrew a device that looked like a more sophisticated version of the drive Amanda had delivered the previous day. Catherine's message. She encrypted it with a multi-factor authentication system. It requires her DNA, your fingerprints, and a passphrase that only Lily knows. Nathan glanced at the little girl, who nodded solemnly. "Before we proceed," Marcus continued, his voice lowering, "you should know that what Catherine discovered, what she's been hiding from Vertex, goes far beyond memory enhancement. Namocine was never meant to be merely therapeutic. In its original formulation, it can rewrite neural pathways completely, allowing for the implantation of entirely false memory constructs that are indistinguishable from authentic experiences. Mind control," Nathan said flatly. Marcus winced at the term but didn't disagree. In the hands of certain interests, it could certainly function that way. Vertex saw the military applications immediately. Imagine soldiers with no fear, no trauma, only manufactured loyalty. Political applications too. Voters whose memories of candidates or events could be selectively altered. The implications were staggering. Nathan looked down at his sleeping twins, remembering Catherine's notes about their prenatal exposure. And Catherine discovered they were testing it without authorization. Worse than that, Marcus replied grimly. She discovered they were testing it on her pregnancy. They were using your unborn children as subjects, Nathan. A cold fury settled in Nathan's chest. How? When? During her second trimester. Remember that conference in Boston? The prenatal emergency that sent her to Massachusetts General? Nathan nodded slowly. The incident had terrified him. Catherine's sudden high blood pressure, the concerns about placental complications. He'd been in Japan on business, had arranged emergency transport home, only to have Catherine insist by the time he arrived that everything was fine. It wasn't a natural complication, Marcus continued. It was a controlled exposure event designed to introduce mnemosyne into the fetal neural development stage. Catherine only realized it months later when she noticed anomalies in her own research data, patterns that could only exist if her original formulas had been altered and tested. And she traced it back to Vertex, Nathan concluded, the pieces falling into place. Marcus nodded. To Dr. Richard Campbell specifically, Vertex's research director and Catherine's former colleague. They'd worked together at MIT, but had a falling out over ethical boundaries. When Richard joined Vertex, he brought knowledge of Catherine's early research with him. Nathan's jaw tightened. He'd met Campbell once at a biotech conference, a smooth-talking scientist with politician charm and cold eyes. Catherine had avoided him pointedly, citing professional differences. Let's hear what Catherine has to say, Nathan said, placing the twins' carrier safely on a nearby examination table. Marcus nodded, inserting the encrypted drive into a specialized reader. A DNA verification prompt appeared on the screen. Marcus placed a vial containing what Nathan assumed was Catherine's DNA sample into an adjacent port. Next came a fingerprint scanner, which Nathan pressed his thumb against. Now for the passphrase, Marcus said, turning to Lily. Whenever you're ready. Lily stepped forward confidently. Starlight Memory Protocol, Alpha 79 Echo 3. Initiate Renaissance. The screen flickered, then resolved into an image of Catherine, his Catherine, sitting in what appeared to be a rustic cabin. Nathan's breath caught at the sight of her. She looked tired, her usually immaculate auburn hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. But the intelligence and determination that had first drawn him to her still shone in her gaze. Nathan, her recorded image began, if you're watching this, then you've found Lily and you've begun to understand what's been happening. I'm so sorry for disappearing, for not telling you the truth from the beginning. I thought I was protecting you and the twins by keeping you in the dark. She paused, composing herself. Now I realize I may have made things worse. Catherine shifted, leaning closer to the camera. 3 months ago, I discovered that Richard Campbell and Vertex had been using my research without authorization. Not just using it, perverting it. Mnemosyne was designed to strengthen neural connections, to help patients with degenerative conditions, but they modified it to create new connections, implanted memories, false experiences that the brain processes as authentic. She ran a hand through her hair, a gesture so familiar it made Nathan's chest ache. When I confronted Richard with evidence of their unauthorized testing, things escalated quickly. He revealed that I had been one of their test subjects, that during my pregnancy complications, they had exposed the twins to an early version of modified mnemosyne. They wanted to see if prenatal exposure would make the brain more receptive to future memory implantation. Catherine's expression hardened. I couldn't go public, not without exposing our children to scrutiny and possibly endangering them further, so I began working on an antidote, a way to protect them from any attempts at memory manipulation. That's when I discovered Lily. The camera panned slightly to show research files spread across a table. Lily was part of an earlier test group, orphan children whose neural plasticity made them ideal subjects. Most responded as expected, accepting implanted memories as their own. But Lily was different. Her brain chemistry rejected the artificial connections, instead strengthening her natural memory to an extraordinary degree. They falsified her disappearance to study her further, but I managed to find her and get her out. Catherine looked directly into the camera, her eyes fierce with protective intensity. Nathan, the twins need regular exposure to the neural key, the lullaby I composed. It activates a protective sequence in their developing brains, strengthening their authentic neural pathways against manipulation. Lily knows the full melody and variations. Without it, they remain vulnerable. She took a deep breath. As for my research, I've hidden the complete Nimosin formula and the antidote protocol in a secure location. Vertex has only fragments. Dangerous, but incomplete. The full research is at the cabin where I'm recording this. Lily knows the way. Catherine's expression softened. I've stayed away because they're watching you, watching Neurosoft. The moment I contact you directly, they'll know. But now that you've activated the emergency protocols, now that you understand what we're facing, it's time to move to the next phase. She leaned forward, her voice dropping. There's something else you need to know, something about Lily. The recording suddenly cut off, replaced by static before going completely black. Nathan looked to Marcus in alarm. What happened? Where's the rest? Marcus frowned, checking the equipment. The file ends there. Catherine must have been interrupted during the recording, or perhaps she stored the remainder separately for security. Nathan turned to Lily, who was staring at the blank screen with a mixture of sadness and determination. Lily, do you know what Catherine was going to say about you? What else I need to know? The little girl met his gaze steadily. She was going to tell you that I'm not just a test subject she rescued. Lily took a deep breath, her small shoulders squaring. I'm your daughter. The room went utterly silent. Nathan stared at the child, his mind struggling to process her words. That's impossible, he finally managed. Catherine and I only have the twins. Lily shook her head. No. I was born first. 7 years ago, when you and Dr. Catherine were still at university, she told me you both agreed to adoption because you were too young, still studying. But the adoption was fake. The people who took me weren't real parents. They were Vertex researchers. They've been studying me my whole life. Nathan looked to Marcus for confirmation, his world tilting on its axis. The older scientist nodded gravely. Catherine confirmed it with genetic testing. Lily is your biological daughter. The adoption records were falsified by Vertex. They've been experimenting with her brain chemistry since infancy, establishing the baseline for their memory manipulation research. That's why my brain works differently, Lily added softly. Dr. Catherine said I inherited special patterns from both of you. Neural architecture, she called it. Nathan sank into a chair, overwhelmed. A daughter, a child he'd never known existed, who had been used as a test subject for her entire life, whose existence had been hidden from him through elaborate deception. Does she have proof? He asked Marcus, his voice hollow. In answer, Marcus handed him a sealed envelope. DNA results, verified by 3 independent labs. Catherine wanted absolute certainty before telling you. With trembling hands, Nathan opened the envelope and scanned the contents. The scientific data was unequivocal. Lily was his biological child, sharing genetic markers with both him and Catherine in a pattern that could only indicate direct parentage. Why wouldn't she tell me? Nathan whispered, looking up at Marcus. All these years, she believed you were both being monitored, Marcus replied. After discovering what Vertex had done with your twins, she started investigating further back. That's when she found the connection to Lily and realized how long Vertex had been manipulating your lives. They'd been watching both of you since your graduate work, recognizing the potential of your combined research. Nathan looked at Lily, really looked at her, and suddenly saw what should have been obvious from the beginning. She had Catherine's determined chin and thoughtful brow, but his eyes, his mother's curly hair, his own analytical gaze. How much do you remember? He asked her softly. About before? About being taken? Lily shook her head. Nothing from when I was a baby. My first real memories start at the special school when I was 3. Dr. Catherine helped me understand which memories are real and which ones they put there. She hesitated, then added, she cried when she told me you were my real father, said she'd been looking for me for a long time. Before Nathan could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Amanda burst into the room, her face tense with urgency. They're here, Vertex Security with local police. They've got some kind of emergency warrant. Marcus moved quickly, ejecting the drive and pressing it into Nathan's hand. You need to go, now. Take the service elevator to the basement, then the maintenance tunnel to the east parking garage. Amanda will guide you. What about you? Nathan asked, gathering the twins. I'll stall them. Buy you time. Marcus's expression was resolute. Find Catherine, complete her work. It's bigger than any of us now. As Amanda led them toward the exit, Nathan turned back one last time. Thank you, Marcus, for helping Catherine, for protecting my daughter. The older scientist nodded solemnly. She never stopped loving you, Nathan, never stopped fighting for your family. Remember that in the days ahead. With Lily's small hand in his and the twins secure in their carrier, Nathan followed Amanda through the hospital's hidden corridors, his mind reeling with revelations. A daughter he never knew. A conspiracy spanning nearly a decade. A wife who had sacrificed everything to protect their children. And somewhere in the mountains, a cabin where answers waited. Where Catherine had hidden the truth that Vertex would do anything to obtain and suppress. As they emerged into the early morning light, Nathan made a silent vow. He would find that cabin, would uncover the full scope of what had been done to his family, and then he would make it right. The rugged terrain of the Cascade Mountains stretched before them, endless green forests punctuated by jagged peaks, still crowned with snow even in summer. Nathan navigated the rented SUV along increasingly narrow roads, following Lily's confident directions. The twins slept peacefully in their car seats, lulled by the vehicle's movement and the soft melody Lily hummed, Catherine's lullaby now, recognizable to Nathan as more than just a song, a neural key, Catherine had called it, protection encoded in music. Turn left at the fallen pine tree, Lily instructed, pointing toward what appeared to be an overgrown trail rather than a proper road. It doesn't look like a real path, but it is. Nathan complied, the SUV's suspension groaning as they left the graded Forest Service road for what was essentially a game trail. They'd been driving for nearly 3 hours since leaving Seattle, heading deep into the mountains where cell service had disappeared long ago. Their only connection to the outside world was a satellite phone that Sarah had provided, along with emergency supplies and the promise to monitor Vertex's movements from afar. Are you sure this is right? Nathan asked as branches scraped against the vehicle's sides. This doesn't look like it leads anywhere. It's supposed to look that way, Lily replied with the matter-of-fact certainty that still startled him. Dr. Catherine said the best hiding place is one that doesn't look like a hiding place at all. The path narrowed further before suddenly opening into a small clearing where a modest log cabin stood, partially hidden by towering pines. It looked unremarkable. The kind of rustic hunting retreat one might find scattered throughout the Pacific Northwest. Nothing about it suggested it housed groundbreaking neurological research or served as the hideout for one of the world's foremost neuroscientists. That's it, Lily confirmed, unbuckling her seatbelt before Nathan had fully stopped the vehicle. Home base. Nathan parked and surveyed their surroundings, alert for any signs of surveillance or previous disturbance. The cabin appeared untouched, with no tire tracks besides their own and no broken branches to suggest recent visitors. Still, he approached cautiously, keeping Lily behind him as they reached the front door. There's a security system, Lily informed him, pointing to what looked like a normal key lock but had a subtle optical scanner embedded within it. You have to let it see your eyes. Nathan leaned forward, allowing the scanner to read his retinal pattern. After a moment, a soft click indicated the lock disengaging. Catherine had programmed the security system to recognize him, even though he'd never been to this location before. She'd been planning for this moment, preparing for his arrival. The cabin's interior was surprisingly modern despite its rustic exterior. Solar panels must have provided electricity, as evidenced by the advanced computer equipment arranged on a long desk beneath the windows. One wall was covered in whiteboards filled with molecular formulas and neural pathway diagrams, all written in Catherine's distinctive handwriting. A small kitchenette occupied one corner, while a ladder led to a sleeping loft above. Dr. Catherine's laboratory is hidden, Lily announced, moving directly to a large braided rug in the center of the main room. She pulled it aside to reveal a trapdoor with another biometric lock. "This one needs your fingerprint and a code." Nathan pressed his thumb to the scanner, while Lily entered a sequence on the adjacent keypad. The trapdoor unlocked with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a staircase descending into a fully equipped research laboratory. "She built all this without anyone knowing," Nathan murmured, amazed at what Catherine had accomplished in secret. "She had help," Lily replied as they descended the stairs. "Dr. Marcus sent equipment, and there were others, people who believed in her work." The underground laboratory was state-of-the-art, with equipment that rivaled Neurosoft's main research facilities. Specialized microscopes, centrifuges, a small MRI machine, and what appeared to be a custom-built neural imaging array filled the space. At the center stood a secure glass enclosure containing what Nathan immediately recognized as a manufacturing setup for pharmaceutical compounds. "This is where she made the medicine to protect the twins," Lily explained, moving confidently through the lab as if she'd spent significant time there, "and where she worked on the antidote for everyone else who was exposed." Nathan approached a workstation where multiple monitors displayed complex data sets and molecular simulations. A notebook lay open beside the keyboard, Catherine's last entries dated just 3 weeks ago. She had been here recently, far more recently than her recorded message suggested. "Lily," Nathan began carefully, "when was the last time you saw Catherine? The actual last time, not what you were told to tell others." The little girl paused, her expression conflicted. 3 weeks ago she came to the safe house in the middle of the night. She was worried because she saw the bad men watching Dr. Marcus's hospital. She said it wasn't safe to stay together anymore. "So she's been moving separately from you," Nathan concluded, scanning the laboratory for any indication of Catherine's current whereabouts. Lily nodded. "She said we'd meet again at the lighthouse when the time was right." She frowned slightly, "But I don't know what lighthouse. She didn't explain that part." Nathan continued his exploration of the lab, finding cabinet after cabinet of meticulously labeled samples and research journals dating back years. In one sealed container, he discovered vials of what appeared to be the refined Naimosin compound, small amounts of amber liquid marked with production dates and batch numbers. "This is incredible," he murmured, carefully examining the compound through the glass. "She's been developing this in parallel to her official research for years." "Since before I was born," Lily confirmed, watching him from beside a complex neural mapping station. "She told me the story, how she discovered the first version when she was still a student, how she wanted to use it to help people with broken memories, but others wanted to use it differently." Nathan remembered those early days, Catherine's excitement over her discovery, her determination to develop it ethically. They had been so young, still graduate students with dreams of changing the world through science. Had that been when Vertex first took notice of her work, when they began their decades-long manipulation? A thought suddenly struck him. "Lily, you said Catherine gave you up for adoption when you were born. That Vertex arranged to take you instead of legitimate adoptive parents." The child nodded solemnly. "But why would she give you up at all? We weren't that young. We were in our mid-20s, finishing our doctorates. We were already talking about marriage." The timeline didn't make sense to him. Lily's brow furrowed. "She said she didn't have a choice, that she was very sick after I was born, and someone made decisions for her while she was sleeping. When she woke up, they told her I didn't survive." Nathan felt as if the floor had dropped beneath him. "They told her you died at birth. And they told me..." "What?" "Catherine never even told me she was pregnant." "Because they made her forget," Lily said simply. "With the first version of Naimosin. Dr. Catherine figured it out later, when she saw my genetic profile in Vertex's research database. She recognized the patterns, yours and hers combined. That's when she started looking for me." The implications were staggering. Memory manipulation going back 8 years, affecting both him and Catherine, making them forget the existence of their first child. It explained so much. Catherine's periodic episodes of inexplicable sadness, her fierce devotion to families affected by memory disorders, her reluctance to start their own family until her research was further along. How long has Catherine known about you? He asked Lily, his voice hoarse with emotion. Almost 2 years, Lily replied. She found me at the group home, but she couldn't just take me. Vertex was watching, so she visited as a special teacher, bringing me books and toys. Then, after the fire, when everyone thought I was gone, she finally rescued me. Nathan sank into a nearby chair, overwhelmed by revelations that kept multiplying. Not only had his unborn twins been exposed to experimental compounds, but he had an older child whose very existence had been erased from his memory. A child who had spent years as a test subject for the same corporation that had manipulated his family's entire life. "There's more," Lily said quietly, approaching a secured cabinet in the corner of the laboratory. "Dr. Catherine left something special. Here, for when you came." She placed her small palm on the cabinet's biometric scanner, then gestured for Nathan to do the same. "We both have to open it together." The cabinet unlocked with a soft click. Inside, Nathan found a single silver case containing what appeared to be a medical injection device and several vials of clear liquid. "It's the memory restore," Lily explained solemnly. "For you. To help you remember me." Nathan stared at the device, a mixture of hope and apprehension washing over him. "This will restore my memories of your birth, of the time before Vertex took you?" Lily nodded. "Dr. Catherine tested it on herself first. She said it was safe, but it would hurt because remembering what was taken is always painful." Before Nathan could respond, a sharp beeping sound emanated from the computer workstation. One of the monitors displayed a proximity alert. Motion sensors had detected movement on the approach to the cabin. "Someone's coming," Nathan said, immediately alert. He moved to the security console and activated the external cameras. The screen showed 2 black SUVs making their way along the same overgrown path they had followed earlier. "How did they find us?" Lily's face paled. "Maybe they followed Dr. Marcus, or maybe—" Her small hand went to her backpack, withdrawing the signal scrambler Catherine had given her. "Maybe my protection stopped working." Nathan checked the device and found its power indicator dark. The battery had died, potentially allowing Vertex to track Lily's unique neural signature, the very thing Catherine had been trying to prevent. "We need to leave. Now." Nathan gathered the silver case containing the memory restoration compound, along with Catherine's most recent research journals. "Is there another way out of here?" Lily nodded, already moving toward the back of the laboratory. "Emergency tunnel. Dr. Catherine showed me." A hidden door at the rear of the lab revealed a narrow passage carved into the mountainside, reinforced with support beams and equipped with emergency lighting. Nathan quickly retrieved the twins from the SUV, grateful that they remained peacefully asleep, then returned for essential supplies. As they prepared to enter the tunnel, Nathan hesitated, looking back at the laboratory filled with years of Catherine's secret work. "We can't let Vertex get this research," he said, more to himself than to Lily. "We don't have to," Lily replied, pointing to a red switch near the tunnel entrance labeled Purge. "Dr. Catherine made a safety system. It erases everything but doesn't hurt people." Nathan studied the switch. A data purge rather than a physical destruction. It would wipe the computer systems and likely trigger some form of chemical neutralization for the samples. Catherine had planned for this contingency too. With a deep breath, he flipped the switch. Immediately, the laboratory's lights shifted to emergency red as a computerized voice announced, "Emergency purge initiated. All systems will be neutralized in 60 seconds. Please proceed to safety." They hurried into the tunnel, the heavy door sealing automatically behind them. Through its small, reinforced window, Nathan watched as the laboratory's computer screens began systematically wiping, while the sample storage units hissed as neutralizing agents were released within them. "How long is this tunnel?" Nathan asked as they began. Moving forward, the twins' carrier balanced carefully in one arm, the case of memory restoration compound clutched in his other hand. "About a mile," Lily answered, leading the way with the confidence of someone who had rehearsed this escape route. "It comes out near a small creek where Dr. Catherine kept an emergency vehicle." As they progressed through the narrow passage, Nathan could hear muffled sounds of intrusion above them. Vertex's team had reached the cabin, but the tunnel took them deeper into the mountain before gradually sloping upward again, emerging eventually at a camouflaged exit, partially hidden by boulders and vegetation. The emergency vehicle turned out to be a rugged, all-terrain jeep, concealed beneath a covering of branches and forest debris. Nathan quickly cleared it and loaded their supplies while Lily secured the tunnel exit, disguising it once more as a natural feature of the landscape. "Where do we go now?" Nathan asked as they settled into the jeep. The twins were beginning to stir, likely hungry after their long nap. Lily buckled her seatbelt with practiced ease. "To the lighthouse," she said with absolute certainty. "Dr. Catherine will meet us there." "But you said you don't know which lighthouse." A small, enigmatic smile crossed Lily's face, an expression so like Catherine's that it made Nathan's chest tighten. "I didn't before, but when I saw her research journals just now, I remembered something else, something she told me to forget until I saw the anchor symbol again." Anchor symbol? Nathan started the jeep, carefully navigating away from their hidden exit point in her last journal. The drawing in the margin, it's the logo for Whidbey Island Maritime Museum. There's a historic lighthouse there where she took me once for a special day trip. She said it was important because that's where you proposed to her. Nathan felt a jolt of recognition. The Admiralty Head Lighthouse, where he had indeed asked Catherine to marry him 6 years ago during a weekend getaway. A location significant. To them alone, with no connection to Neurasoft or their professional lives, the perfect rendezvous point. "How far is it?" he asked, checking the jeep's fuel gauge. "About 4 hours if we take the back roads," Lily replied, already unfolding a paper map from the glove compartment. Dr. Catherine marked the route. We should avoid main highways. As they wound their way down from the mountains, following logging roads and rarely used forest service routes, Nathan glanced at the silver case containing the memory restoration compound. Part of him desperately wanted to use it immediately, to recover what had been stolen from him, to remember the birth of his first child, to understand the full scope of Vertex's manipulation. But another part feared what those memories might bring, the pain Lily had mentioned, the knowledge of how thoroughly their lives had been controlled without their awareness. "It doesn't have to be now," Lily said softly, noticing his gaze on the case. "Dr. Catherine said it should be your choice. When to remember that some people need time to prepare." Nathan nodded gratefully. "Let's focus on reaching the lighthouse first, on finding Catherine." He glanced at Lily in the rearview mirror, this child who was simultaneously a stranger and his daughter. "Then we can start putting our family back together." Lily's answering smile was cautious but hopeful. Dr. Catherine said that too, that once we were all together we could be a real family, that we could help the twins grow up safe from the bad medicine. As they continued their careful journey toward Whidbey Island, Nathan's mind raced with questions that still needed answers. How many others had been exposed to Nemosin without their knowledge? How deep did Vertex's conspiracy reach? And most importantly, how could they protect their children from further manipulation? The answers, he hoped, waited with Catherine at the lighthouse, along with the chance to finally confront the truth about their past and the opportunity to reclaim their future. Admiralty Head Lighthouse stood sentinel on the bluffs of Whidbey Island, its white tower gleaming in the late afternoon sun. Nathan parked the jeep in a secluded area away from the main visitor lot, following Lily's directions to a maintenance access road that wound behind the historic structure. The twins were awake now, alert, but mercifully content after their feeding, at a remote rest stop an hour earlier. "This is it," Lily said, her voice hushed with anticipation as she gazed at the lighthouse. "Dr. Catherine said she'd be watching for us." Nathan surveyed their surroundings carefully. The tourist season was winding down, with only a few scattered visitors exploring the grounds. Nothing seemed immediately suspicious. No black SUVs, no men in dark suits scanning the area. After their narrow escape from the mountain cabin, he'd been hyper-vigilant, constantly checking for signs of pursuit. "How will she know we're here?" he asked, gathering the twins into their carrier. Lily reached into her purple backpack and pulled out what looked like an ordinary seashell. "This is a signal device. When we get close enough to the lighthouse, it will activate." Nathan raised an eyebrow, impressed once again by Catherine's meticulous planning. The shell undoubtedly contained some form of short-range transmitter, designed to look utterly innocuous, something a child might naturally carry after a beach visit. They approached the lighthouse from the rear, avoiding the main path taken by tourists. Lily held the shell carefully in her palm, watching it intently as they drew closer to the historic structure. When they reached the base of the tower, a tiny green light began pulsing within the shell's spiral. "She's here," Lily whispered, a smile breaking across her face. "She's receiving the signal." A moment later, a service door at the lighthouse base opened slightly. No one emerged, but Nathan understood the invitation. With the twins secure in one arm and Lily close beside him, he slipped through the door into the cool interior of the lighthouse. The circular room inside was dimly lit by the late afternoon sun, filtering through narrow windows. Navigation displays and historical exhibits lined the walls, telling the story of the lighthouse's role in guiding ships through the treacherous waters of Puget Sound. At the center of the room, beside the spiral staircase leading to the lens, room above stood a figure Nathan would have recognized anywhere, under any circumstances. Catherine. She looked different from her recorded message, thinner, with her auburn hair cut short in a practical style that would make her less recognizable. But her eyes were the same, intelligent, determined, filled with a fierce love as they met Nathan's gaze. For a moment, no one moved or spoke. Then Lily broke the silence, running forward with a joyful cry. "Dr. Catherine!" Catherine caught the child in a tight embrace, closing her eyes briefly as she held Lily close. "You did it," she murmured into the little girl's hair. "You found him. You brought everyone safely." When she looked up at Nathan again, her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "Nathan," she said softly, his name on her lips, both a statement and a question. Nathan stepped forward, the twins stirring in their carrier as if somehow sensing their mother's presence. "Catherine," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "You're really here." She moved toward him cautiously, as if afraid he might disappear. Her hand reached out, trembling slightly as it came to rest on the twins' carrier. "Emma, Ethan," she whispered, peering at their small faces. "They've grown so much." "They missed you," Nathan said, fighting to keep his voice steady. "We all did." Catherine's gaze lifted to meet his, her expression a complex mixture of love, guilt, and determination. "I never wanted to leave you, any of you, but they gave me no choice." "I know," Nathan replied, and was surprised to find that he did know at some fundamental level that transcended the rational mind. Whatever her reasons, whatever secrets she had kept, Catherine had been fighting to protect their family in the only way she could. She gestured toward the spiral staircase. "We should go upstairs. It's more secure and we have a lot to discuss." The lighthouse's upper level had been converted into a temporary living space. A desk covered in research materials stood beneath the windows, while a small kitchenette and sleeping area occupied the opposite side. The magnificent Fresnel lens that had once guided ships now stood dormant in the center, a relic of maritime history repurposed as the centerpiece of Catherine's sanctuary. "How long have you been here?" Nathan asked, setting the twins' carrier on a padded bench. 3 days, Catherine replied, moving to secure the access hatch behind them. "After I detected unusual activity at Marcus's lab, I knew it was time to implement the final phase." "Final phase?" Catherine nodded, her expression turning serious. "The endgame, Nathan. Everything I've been working toward since I discovered what Vertex did to our family." She gestured to her research materials. "I've completed the antidote protocol, a compound that can neutralize nimosin in the system and repair the neural pathways it altered. More importantly, I've gathered enough evidence to expose Vertex's illegal testing program." Nathan set down the case containing the memory restoration compound. "Evidence like this? The formula that helps people remember? What was taken?" That's part of it, Catherine confirmed, but there's more, much more. She picked up a secure tablet, entering a complex passcode. Financial records showing illicit research funding, internal communications discussing unauthorized, human testing, data tracking the subjects they've manipulated, including government officials, military personnel, and corporate competitors. Nathan's eyes widened as he processed the implications. They've been using Mnemosyne for corporate espionage, political manipulation, among other applications, Catherine said grimly. Richard Campbell has been selling Vertex's memory technology to the highest bidders for years, all while maintaining the public facade of a legitimate pharmaceutical company. That's why they were so desperate to recover my research. I have the only complete understanding of how Mnemosyne works, including its vulnerabilities and how to reverse its effects. Lily, who had been quietly exploring the lighthouse room, returned to Catherine's side. "Did you tell him about me?" she asked, her voice small but steady. Catherine's expression softened as she placed a gentle hand on Lily's shoulder. "Not everything. I thought perhaps he should hear it from both of us." Nathan looked between them, this woman he had loved for a decade, and this child who was apparently their daughter. "I know Lily is our biological child," he said. "That Vertex somehow arranged her adoption and faked her death after the group home fire. What I don't understand is why I have no memory of her birth, of your pregnancy." Catherine took a deep breath, visibly steeling herself. "Because that was their first experiment on us, Nathan. The prototype for what would become their memory manipulation program." She guided him to sit beside the twins, perhaps sensing the magnitude of what she was about to reveal. 8 years ago, when we were completing our doctorates, I discovered I was pregnant. We were excited, making plans for our future together. But during a routine prenatal appointment in my second trimester, there were complications. I was hospitalized. Nathan frowned, searching his memories. "I don't remember any of this." "You wouldn't," Catherine said softly, "because while I was sedated, supposedly for a procedure to address placental issues, they administered the first version of what would later become Mnemosyne to both of us. You came to the hospital to be with me, and they included you in the experimental protocol." Lily leaned against Catherine, listening with the solemn attention of a child who had heard this story before. "When I woke up," Catherine continued, "they told me there had been a tragedy, that we had lost the baby. They showed us falsified medical records, guided us through a grief we didn't understand because we couldn't properly remember what we'd lost. Then they used the early memory manipulation compound to make us forget the pregnancy entirely." Nathan felt as if the floor were tilting beneath him. How is that possible? How could we forget something so significant? "The compound targets specific neural clusters associated with episodic memory," Catherine explained, slipping briefly into her scientific precision. "They were still refining the technique, so the memory suppression wasn't perfect, which is why I sometimes had inexplicable periods of sadness, dreams about a child I couldn't place. But it was effective enough to make us believe their narrative." "But Lily survived," Nathan said, looking at the quiet child who was watching him with his own eyes. Catherine nodded, her arm tightening around Lily's shoulders. "They took her, at birth, placed her with carefully selected Vertex employees posing as adoptive parents. She became their first long-term test subject for memory manipulation techniques, the foundation for their entire program. That's why I remember things differently," Lily added. "They kept trying new versions of the medicine on me, but my brain kept fighting back. Dr. Catherine says I have special neurons that don't accept fake memories." "Genetic resistance," Catherine confirmed. "A natural variation in her neural architecture. That makes her immune to certain types of memory manipulation. When I discovered it in my research at Neurasoft, Vertex recognized the pattern from their work with Lily and became desperate to control my findings." Nathan's mind was reeling, but one question burned brighter than the rest. "How did you discover the truth, after years of believing their lies?" A sad smile touched Catherine's lips. "Ironically, through my own research. As Mnemosyne advanced, I began noticing anomalies in my own brain scans, evidence of previous exposure to a similar compound. That led me to dig deeper, to request My complete medical records from 8 years ago. There were inconsistencies, gaps that couldn't be explained. She reached for a folder on her desk, withdrawing a faded hospital bracelet. I found this among my personal effects from that hospital stay. A maternity bracelet, not a surgical one. It listed my status as postpartum, not post-procedure. That single discrepancy unraveled everything. She started looking for you then, Lily said to Nathan, but she had to be careful because they were watching. I needed absolute proof before confronting you with something so monumental, Catherine explained. So I traced the adoption records, followed the paper trail through shell companies and fake identities until it led to Vertex subsidiaries, and eventually to Lily's group home. Where you began visiting her as a special teacher, Nathan recalled, from Lily's earlier explanation. Catherine nodded. I needed to confirm she was really our daughter. A DNA test, conducted secretly through Marcus, proved it beyond doubt. I was planning how to tell you everything, how to bring Lily home safely, when I discovered Vertex had done it again, had exposed me during my pregnancy with the twins. Her voice caught slightly. That's when I realized how deeply embedded they were in our lives, how dangerous it would be to confront them directly. I needed to gather irrefutable evidence, to develop protection for the twins, to ensure Lily's safety. So you disappeared, Nathan concluded, to protect us by keeping your distance. To protect you by fighting from the shadows, Catherine corrected gently. Every day away from you and the twins was agony, Nathan. But I couldn't risk Vertex realizing I'd discovered their manipulation. Couldn't risk them taking more aggressive action against our family. Nathan looked at the silver case containing the memory restoration compound. And now you've developed a way to restore what they took from us, our real memories. If you're ready, Catherine said, her eyes searching his. It's not without risk. The process of recovering suppressed memories can be disorienting, emotionally overwhelming, but it would allow you to remember Lily's birth, our joy when we learned I was pregnant, the plans we made before Vertex intervened. Nathan reached for the case, his decision made. I want to remember all of it. Catherine prepared the injection with practiced precision, explaining each step as she worked. The compound targets the neural barriers created by mnemosyne, dissolving them without damaging the underlying memory structures. The process takes approximately 30 minutes to begin, and the memory recovery unfolds gradually over several hours. When the injection was ready, Catherine paused, meeting Nathan's eyes. Are you certain? In answer, Nathan rolled up his sleeve. Our daughter deserves to be remembered. The needle's sting was momentary, the compound cool as it entered his bloodstream. Catherine monitored his vital signs carefully, her scientific detachment temporarily overriding her emotional involvement. Now we wait, she said, disposing of the syringe safely. The first memories usually begin to surface within half an hour. While they waited, Catherine turned to more immediate concerns. We can't stay here long. Vertex will eventually track us to this location, especially now that they've discovered the mountain laboratory. What's our next move? Nathan asked, flexing his arm where the injection had been administered. Catherine's expression turned resolute. We take the fight to them. Tomorrow morning, Sarah will deliver our evidence package to the FBI, the SEC, and select media outlets simultaneously. The data is irrefutable. Illegal human experimentation, corporate espionage, manipulation of government officials. Vertex won't survive the scandal. And Richard Campbell will face criminal charges along with the other executives who knowingly participated in the program. Catherine's voice hardened. They stole our daughter, Nathan, manipulated our memories, used our unborn children as test subjects. There can be no leniency. Lily, who had been quietly playing with the twins while the adults talked, looked up suddenly. Someone's coming, she whispered, her enhanced senses apparently detecting something beyond normal perception. Catherine moved swiftly to the window, peering cautiously through specialized binoculars. Security team at the main entrance. Vertex. Uniforms under civilian clothing. She turned to Nathan, her expression calm but urgent. They found us sooner than I expected. Nathan felt a strange doubling in his mind, his current concern overlapping with flashes of a hospital room. Catherine's younger face pale against white pillows, his own voice asking questions that went unanswered. The memory restoration was beginning to work. "What's the evacuation plan?" he asked, forcing himself to focus on the present danger. "The water," Catherine replied, already gathering essential research materials into a waterproof pack. "There's a boat, docked below the bluff. A local fisherman who owes Marcus a favor. He'll take us to a private airfield on the Olympic Peninsula." As they prepared to leave, Nathan experienced another memory flash, more vivid this time. Catherine showing him a positive pregnancy test, tears of joy in her eyes, his own trembling hands reaching out to touch her still flat abdomen, the overwhelming love he'd felt for their unborn child. "It's working," he murmured, momentarily disoriented by the intensity of the recovered memory. Catherine paused in her preparations, her expression softening. "What did you remember?" "When you told me you were pregnant, how happy we were," his voice caught. "How we started planning for Lily's arrival right away." Lily looked up at the mention of her name, her eyes wide with hope. "You remember me? From before?" "The beginning of you," Nathan replied gently. "It's coming back in pieces." A sharp crack from below interrupted the moment, someone forcing the lighthouse door. Catherine immediately shifted to emergency mode, her movements precise and practiced. "Down." "The maintenance ladder," she instructed, leading them to a concealed access point behind the massive lens. Quickly and quietly, Lily first, then Nathan with the twins. The narrow maintenance shaft descended through the lighthouse's core, emerging at a small door hidden in the foundation stones. Catherine secured it behind them as they emerged onto a steep path winding down the bluff to a small pebble beach below. As promised, a weathered fishing boat waited at a primitive dock, its captain a grizzled older man who nodded in silent recognition when he saw Catherine. No words were exchanged as they boarded, only the quiet efficiency of a plan long arranged now being executed. As the boat pulled away from shore, Nathan looked back at the lighthouse silhouetted against the setting sun. Another memory surfaced, proposing to Catherine on that very bluff, her joyful acceptance, their dreams of a future together, dreams that had been manipulated and diverted, but never truly destroyed. "We're going to be okay," Catherine said softly, coming to stand beside him at the rail. The twins were secured below deck, Lily keeping watch over them with her characteristic solemnity. "Tomorrow, Vertex's empire begins to crumble. Their power over us ends." Nathan turned to look at his wife, this brilliant, fierce woman who had fought so hard to protect their family. "I'm starting to remember more. The pregnancy, the complications, the hospital," his voice lowered, "the grief they manufactured for us after telling us we'd lost her." Catherine's hand found his, their fingers interlacing in a gesture so familiar, it transcended their years apart. "Those memories will be painful," she acknowledged, "but they're ours, the truth of what we experienced, what was taken from us. And now we're taking it back," Nathan said, his resolve strengthening with each recovered memory. "All of it. Our daughter, our history, our future." As the fishing boat cut through the waters of Puget Sound, carrying them towards safety and the next phase of their fight against Vertex, Nathan felt another memory click into place, holding newborn Lily, marveling at her perfect fingers and toes, the overwhelming love he'd felt for this tiny person they'd created together. 8 years of suppressed memories were returning, filling the manufactured gaps in his mind with truth. It was disorienting and painful, yet profoundly right, like bones long broken now finally setting properly. Catherine leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder in a gesture that bridged the months of separation. "When this is over," she said softly, "we'll go somewhere peaceful, somewhere the twins can grow up safely, where Lily can finally have a normal childhood, where we can be the family we were always meant to be." Nathan wrapped his arm around her, holding her close as the shoreline receded behind them. Another memory surfaced, Catherine singing her lullaby to infant Lily, her voice soft in the darkness of their graduate student apartment. The same lullaby she would later encode as a neural key to protect their twins. "I remember your song," he whispered. "You sang it to Lily every night." Catherine looked up at him, tears shimmering in her eyes. It was always meant for her. "I just didn't know why I remembered it when I was pregnant with the twins. Didn't understand why it felt so important." "Some things even Mnemosyne couldn't erase," Nathan observed. "Some connections too deep to be severed." As night fell over, the water casting the world in deepening shades of blue, Nathan felt a certainty settling within him, alongside the returning memories. Whatever challenges lay ahead, the legal battle against